watch the time from that standpoint. But all right. I heard what you were saying. The way that I did it was, like I said, this was still connecting what you were looking for because it can go both ways. But I kind of wanted to break it down and then gather together at the end. So this right here is some red flags for women. Love bombing. Um, that's a big red flag. And I had a problem last year where a lot of foreigners would love bomb me, and they don't know me from a can of paint. I don't know them from a can of paint, and they would sit there and say, "Oh, I love you. You're gonna be my wife," and then they take on this ownership, and I'm like, "Hold on, I don't even know who you are. What are you talking about?" So, love bombing, showing your intense affections and grand romantic gestures and declarations of forever way too early in a relationship, often followed by an abrupt shift to controlling behavior. Would you consider that a red flag?
It's on the list.
Have you done something like that? Or do you have an example of what that might look like aside from what I described?
Well, I mean, it's
It doesn't matter what
always a
you don't have to answer that part about what you do that, but the other part.
it's definitely a manipulation tactic. So,
Mhm.
like you said it goes right from love bombing right into control. So
Mhm.
basically, what they think they're going to do is they're going to sweep you off your feet with grand gestures, declarations, and all this other stuff, and then go ahead and execute the plan, which is to actually control you ultimately.
Mhm. I got one. It's toast that I'm eating. Somebody asked what I was eating. But another one is weaponized incompetence. And I'm seeing if it's the same thing on here. Pretending to be bad at basic life tasks, cleaning, cooking, scheduling, so that you will automatically do them, turning the relationship into a parent-child dynamic. Mm, that is a red flag. But that's also something that you can avoid during communication and conversation. Um, okay. I got a lot of stuff that's going through my mind on here. I got to separate what to share and what not to share. Um, but what I do want to add to that is um, during that communication phase, the beginning phase, getting to know who you are, you have a tendency or a moment of being truthful or not truthful. You can overcompensate by saying things that you don't have and what you can do, knowing in your mind that you can't. And my thing on that is if you're not able to give the other person a true opportunity to get to know who you are, that's a form of manipulation. That's a big red flag. Let somebody get to know you for who you are. Don't try to paint a picture for them to pick up and try to see if they want that picture. You're deceiving yourself and you're definitely deceiving the person that's trying to get to know you. Some people, men and women, can respect honesty and let them choose for themselves if you are somebody they want to get involved with. You're not that individual and you're not going to know what they're going through and what they're trying to not accomplish again and what they're trying to move on to if you're not honest with what you're saying or when you're introducing yourself to that particular person. So I think I kind of steamed off of it a little bit, but that was in my mind to add on to it. So pretending to, and then you got a lot of people that come across as if, I mean, if you meet somebody and they're old enough, like I'll just say my age or so forth. If you don't know how to cook and take care of yourself at the age of 50 and you meet somebody and all of a sudden they got to do everything for you, something is off with that picture. Um, share your thoughts. Did I go too far off of the topic?
No, you're breaking down how to find out what it is that you need to know before you get lost. So,
Yeah. But you got a lot of people that are not truthful in the beginning because their mindset is thinking that they're not going to want you because of what you've been through, what you did. That's not your choice to take on. You can only take care of you. But going on to the next one, subtle or direct. I'm not going to try to pronounce that word, but pay close attention to how He talks about other women, his mother, his crazy exes, or female public figures. If he lacks respect for a woman in general, then that will eventually transfer to you. Do you agree to that statement?
Yeah, how they treat others, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
how they treat their relatives. Um, even though you did move on while you were talking, I was thinking about you. It's like where they're gonna have you doing all the cooking and cleaning. Uh, to find that out, one, before you get too deep, you would see how they keep their own house clean. Do they take care of their own selves prior to even inviting that person to your life? Now back to how they treat others. Uh, yeah, listen to how they talk about their mom. Listen to how people talk about them in their community.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, in my opinion, I personally don't agree with long distance relationships because one, you don't know what in the world they got going on back home, or you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. And
Why are they reaching so far out for relationships? Because maybe they done burnt every bridge or done all kinds of crazy, you know what going on in their own community. Why is it that they can't find a relationship where they are?
mm-hmm.
Those are things that you have to actually ask yourself. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to pay attention to how they treat others.
And you can stage anything on a computer, on a tablet.
Yeah, anybody can take a couple nice pictures in their car while they're playing with their dog, while they're, you know what I mean, doing whatever they're doing. And then in real life, they're living a totally different life. Nobody fools with them. Nobody really got anything good to say about that person. But yet, they're reaching out 1,000 miles away to somebody else, talking about, you know, let's get to know each other, blah, blah, blah. I can't find nobody like you. Then you have to ask yourself, well, why can't you find somebody in your own community? What's going on over there?
Mm-hmm. Okay. The next one, and someone said over there that you can't hide an attitude. You're right, you can't. People wear masks. And a lot of ways to get past a lot of those masks is through communication and conversation and listening. I keep going back to listening. People tell on themselves. People tell on themselves. You just got to listen. They can paint a picture and say things one way, but if you really listen, it'll hit your spirit, or maybe it's just me. If you really listen, it'll hit you in a way like, wait a minute, they said this time, and last time they said that. And I'm not saying play detective. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it either if you're just listening, but listen to what people say because they tell you. Thank you for the compliment on the necklace and the earrings. I made that right before we came live, so I had something to match my shirt. But anyway, um, yeah, we need to be more aware. First of all, you have to build the confidence in yourself. I'm never going to stray away from that. Build the confidence in yourself because that's how you know what you're going to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate. Because you're not going to be so easy influenced about what somebody else say and how they try to paint a picture of how good they are because you already know how good you are. And to start looking at yourself, and this is man and woman, as a gift, as someone that is going to add greater depth to that particular person that you're trying to get involved in. But like I said, that comes along with communication and talking to one another. And you need to be able to talk to each other long enough to have your first argument. Don't start talking. And I'm not saying go and pick an argument. That's not what I'm saying. But get to know somebody long enough to know to where you can't always agree about every single thing. Sometimes you're going to have a conversation and it's not going to run the right way with that person. And how they respond and how they treat you and how they talk towards you, pay attention to all of that. That's all lessons and skills that you need to use to better understanding yourself and that person so that you're not putting your insecurities on them. You have something to say about that?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, when you said the first argument, that right there, that hit because then you see how they handle conflict resolution, and then you can say, hold on, if this person flies off the handle after any little small disagreement that ain't, that big a deal, And that might not be the person that you would want to be involved with, but if there's somebody that's rational and they can talk through things and they're not easily led by their emotions, then there's something that can be worked with there. But anything other than that, you probably want to be careful. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You have to be willing. As much as people want to be to see the good in people or want to progress relationships ahead, it's not good to rush because the same way you rush into it and not really vet how that person carries themselves, you could be actually lining yourself up for years and years of pain, heartache, and unfortunately, maybe even being unalive.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, just to for those that just joined in the conversation, the discussion is red flags. What are some of the red flags you need to look forward to help you make your decisions on getting into a relationship? So this is just a conversation on that. It's going to lead into, more in depth for those who want to stick around and have a preference on only a particular things that they like to hear. But this is just a conversation to help encourage, uplift, and perhaps give you a different perspective on how you can better your situation. Um, so another one is the savior complex versus total entitlement. Acting like a hero who wants to save you only to use that help later as leverage to control your decisions. My. That's 100% a narcissistic rule or move right there. I can relate to that because I've had that done to me. I'm transparent. I shared about, I'm a widow. My husband passed away about 6 years ago. Somebody says, well, yeah, you don't want someone else with an attitude. But to go back what I was saying, hold on, maybe it's something I don't need to share. So let me reassess what I was about to say. Um, I used to think that once I had moved and left the place that I used to live in to another place to start my life with my family, me and my children, I thought that I was a target. Now, being that I thought that I was a target, that came from somewhere. That I always tell you, believe your intuition, believe your discernment. It's not going to lead you in the wrong way. But see, I didn't have anybody to confirm to me how important it is to listen to yourself, that self, and spend time with God. That's a whole package deal. When I say self, God is always included. For those who don't know me, I'm gonna tell you, when I say spend time alone, that's spending time with you and with God. Meditate and understanding yourself and listening to what God is telling you. But anyway, I saw myself as a target. Meaning, okay, somebody, if they find out that I'm a widow and I live where I live, then they're going to try to come and take over what I have. That's what I felt. That's what I thought. Didn't have no proof. Didn't even have the insight to know that I was running right into what I was feeling. Met somebody who tried to take entitle, tried to take over my home and my house, and tried to, I guess, I don't know what their motive was. I don't want to predict it. I know what the outcome is. Victory is on me, not on them. But the point is, that's a big red flag if somebody comes across as if um, they're coming to save you. Now, when I was living in my spot and I was in a very low space, I used to sit outside on my patio, just minding my business, no entertaining nobody. But I was sitting on my patio and I had like wine and glass. Sometimes I had two bottles of wine, depending, but I'm not condoning alcohol or any type of substances. I was grieving my loss the way that I knew how. And I didn't know how because I've never grieved loss before like that. So I was just flowing and just trying to maintain because it was a lot over on my head. Still a lot. But anyway, um, so I was being watched. People was watching. And they was looking at me and they was watching my schedule and everything. And then before you know it, they found a way to come in and try to what they sink their claws in and try to do that savior complex with me. So that is a big red flag. Acknowledge it in the beginning. Don't wait 2 or 3 years later for them to try to take all and leave you with nothing. You have anything to share on that? I kind of went too deep into but I'm sharing that because somebody else might be going through that or might be looking at something like that.
Well, it sounds like you were aware of what was trying, what the attempt was. I'm not saying that it's entirely impossible that people will plot like that, but it's not a certain behavior.
Million people in
I
this world.
myself
Hmm.
particularly participated in myself, so I never. It almost sounds. I ain't gonna say it sounds like a movie, but
My
that's
life is
interesting.
a movie. It's crazy, but it's crazy. There's just mean people in the world, and that's how I started out. I started getting to it in front of the camera. I'm like, wow, I was just getting all this information, and I'm like, why is people so mean? And it's not my place to answer that. It's my place to help people get through the mean tactics that other people put on you. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. You don't have to subject yourself to how somebody portray you to be. Love yourself, be the best you, do the best you, take care of you, and move forward. The direction is always forward and up. All right. The next one I have here is anger management issues. Punching walls, driving recklessly when angry, throwing objects when if he hits you, intimidation is a form of abuse and major escalation risk. So, anger management is a definite red flag. And and I don't condone violence and I don't condone mental abuse either. And that is another form of abuse that is a red flag you need to ignore. If somebody talks to you and your friends, whatever the case might be, that's fine. But if they know how you feel about being called certain terminologies, like, guys, they refer to women as, I'm just going to put the letters in B's or K's or, you fill in the blank. If a woman tells you that they don't like to be addressed that way, that's not the woman being sedity. That's the woman telling you she don't like that. So don't do it. Oh, well, this is how I talk. You know me. That's just how I am. Okay, well, you know me. If you want to be with me, then you need to make some type of exception on how you direct me, on how you call my name or whatever, what you calling me. Um, and that's not being um sedity. That's just someone that's being honest with you on how you approach. And the guy should be the same way. If a woman comes out and say, uh, call people FNs or whatever the case might be, if a man don't like that, then you don't address and call the man that. What's your actions on that or your comment on that?
I mean, that's true. I mean, I don't particularly care for a woman that has a potty mouth, and think that it's okay to, call you out of your name just because of a disagreement or something they don't like. I mean, it's a turn off.
Hmm. It is.
So,
Um. Hmm.
yeah, so I definitely understand that. Then, also, then what they do is not only will they uh, display that bad behavior, they'll actually tell you that you're the reason why they're doing it. No, that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's who you are. I don't want to hear, I'm doing said thing because of you. No, I'm not making you do anything. You're just showing me who you are, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hmm. And see, it takes maturity to recognize when somebody's throwing their insecurities on you. A lot of people think that you're not realizing what's going on. I'm like, I give disclaimers when I meet people. I tell people, listen, I sometimes might trigger you. I sometimes, I'm like a mirror. If you reflect something on me, it's going to come back on you. If I don't respond the same way that you respond, but then you know what? That's a red flag for you to understand that it's not me, it's you. And that's when I come my lives, I tell people I might trigger you, but it's not me because you don't know me. It's God using me to reflect what you were throwing back to you so that you can get an understanding of what's going on. You can't put your insecurities on me because I know me and I love me enough to know what's mine and what's not. And that's why I always tell people it's important to spend that one on one time with yourself and with God. Okay? For the ones out there that got to hear it. Because you need to know how God speaks to you. You need to have that relationship with God, period. You're going to have to meet with God in the end, whether you choose to believe in Him or not. You will. You don't have to take my word for it. Live long enough and see for yourself. But I'm simply saying that you gotta take people gotta take ownership in their own beliefs and what they believe. They can't just keep passing the buck on somebody else because you want to ease the way out. I want to make people aware to let you know that you need to know you and understand and be bold enough and love you and stand firm in who you are. You tell people and show people how you're supposed to be, not the other way around. When you're trying to introduce or get involved with somebody else, don't lose yourself in that person. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt on multiple relationships. I took all those merchandise pieces and put it in a metal can and I lit it and it's no longer existing. Okay, not condone any violence. That's just me giving a quick comical way of how to show you what I'm no longer dealing with that no more. Been there, done that. So just to tie it back in, the golden rule of a red flag. A red flag isn't always a reason to break up instantly. Sometimes it is an indicator of unhealed past trauma. However, however, your partner reacts when you're confronting them about the behavior tells you everything. If you get defensive, minimize your feelings, or blame you, the red flag just became a stop sign. So I need you all to be aware of what you're walking into and understand that a lot of the red flags are given to you up front. Are you listening to what's being said? Are you caught out on the fact that the person has dreamy eyes and a built body or some money that you're bypassing the main important portion of something that you need to acknowledge before you get involved too far? We have intuition, we have discernment, we have built-in tools, blinkers, alertness in us that we need to pay attention to. And if you are tuned in with God and yourself, you'll be able to pick it up. Something somebody might say will ring in your mind. You're going to get some type of indication. Red flag, if you stop and listen. Um, all right. Anything you want to add on that?
God, sounds good. You have to. We have. I mean, you gotta. The investigation process has to take place
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, so that you don't uh, find yourself in these bad situations. And people have to stop. One, first of all, stop being delusional, and two, stop giving into your lust immediately, so you don't end up in a bad situation. Because once you start giving yourself to this person, now there's another string that you done connected, and it's going to be a little harder to sever that connection.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, it's worth the wait.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing okay by yourself, and then somebody's showing interest, then you should take all the steps to go ahead and find out what this person's about. The minute somebody's in your DMs, inboxes, and you're flattered by the attention, and you're like, oh, maybe I might entertain this. Pull up the red flags just like we did, and just start going through them, and then start checking them off throughout the weeks, the months, and all that you're getting to know each other, so that you can avoid finding yourself in these bad situations, especially in these times. Me, since I follow a lot of news,
Mm-hmm.
I see way more. It's the relationship violence to the point where somebody's losing their life is unreal.
Mm-hmm.
It's unreal. So to me, I would advise anybody, you got daughters, you should be talking about this to your children.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Absolutely. I have a second portion. Did I cut you off? I don't want to cut you off.
Nah, you good.
Okay. Now this part here, I looked up, what is the Bible saying about this? And you can hear this part and relate it to what we spoke about before. And if I see a connection, I'll try to bridge the gap. But looking at relationships warning signs through a biblical lens shifts the focus from modern dating terms to timeless character traits, specifically how a person treats God, themselves, and others. The Bible doesn't use the phrase red flag, but it is incredibly explicit about behaviors in corrupt partnerships. So here's a few highlights of warnings and like I said, I broke it up before with women and men. These are some of the women's highlights. Um, Scripture frequently warns against Scriptures frequently warns against specific behavior patterns in women that can erode peace, trust, and mutual respect in a household. Um, I believe this is from Proverbs 21:19. I'm not reading it from the actual Bible right now on the live. I'm just going to give you what the internet has given me, but I will give you the scripture so that if you want to go and look at it yourself from a different Bible, such as the Egyptian Bible or another type of Bible, you can do so. But this is just to keep the conversation flowing, to connect the two, to kind of bridge the gap. So the book of Proverbs repeatedly warns against a partner who relies on nagging, bickering, or a combative attitude rather than peaceful communication. And so that was Proverbs 21:19. Better to live in a desert than with a continuous and complaining woman. And that goes along with what we talked about. The Savior
Emotional
complex.
manipulation.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, so that's the connection to biblical terms and real life terms. And the next one I have here is this descriptionless beauty, superficiality. The Bible warns against placing physical attractions above spiritual maturity and moral substance. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman who shows no concern. Let me say that again. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman who shows no discretion. That's Proverbs 11:22. So discrepancy and beauty, superficiality. Let's go church. All right, maybe I need to read this out of the other thing. If you can break it up better, or if you can break it up, for it to connect to the way the world is. Proverbs 11. Let me see what that says in another.
Yeah, to me, Proverbs, it gets more into how women will, if they're not conduct themselves
Mm-hmm.
like a lady talks conduct themselves, if she's loud and obnoxious, and her foot is always outside her door, always in the middle of something. And to me, I would say, in my opinion, the version of that
Mm-hmm.
would be social media. Somebody that's always online, running their mouth all about a bunch of stuff that, at the end of the day, it doesn't help anybody. Just always constantly complaining about, certain things, talking negative about a lot of other people. Uh, that kind of stuff is not very attractive. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I think they use the analogy of the gold ring in the nose of a
Mm-hmm.
pig, because ultimately a pig is not a good looking
Mm-hmm.
animal, and then also they're very filthy.
Yeah, they consider dirty animals. That's why I said, wait,
So
look at this.
you're gonna stick a gold ring in the nose of a pig. It's just like,
Thank you for the gifts.
ultimately a woman is supposed to be a beautiful thing. So the woman could be the ring. She could be the gold, piece of gold, but when her behavior would make her akin to what the swine would be. Very unattractive, very smelly, loud, snorting, making a bunch of noise. They squeal. And then ultimately, the Bible actually tells us that we're not even supposed to eat that stuff
Okay.
because it's not good for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a great analogy. And actually, Proverbs is one of the books that I like to reference a lot, because the fact that it gives you a lot of good sayings that are great for everyday life.
Mm-hmm. And it's to the point.
Yeah, especially for men.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, not I guess maybe because the author was a man. Maybe that's why. He was ultimately brought down by women because he gave himself. He submitted to his own lust, gave himself over, and had all these different wives. And the thing is, if I'm not mistaken, ultimately he ended up worshiping their gods. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why, I think it's very important, like the Bible says, you don't want to be unequally yoked.
Mhm.
And I think that's even though he was the wisest man, he that's where he fell at because he gave his strength over to women.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, so with that being said, that's why I think that's a very good book to as a reference. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
For us in the states, but everybody has different. I ain't say everybody.
Most.
Some people had different religions, but I'll just stick to whatever it is that I was brought up on, and it is the King James Bible, so it is what it is.
Yeah. And most of these are going to come from Proverbs, but I have a few that's not. The character that's rooted in the fear of God of the Lord, whereas charm and superficial presentation can easily mask a manipulated heart. So, like the person that was saying earlier, um, to um, to gain wisdom is to fear God, to have to just I didn't word that right, but to kind of connect the person that was talking earlier. I don't know if they're still on the live, but I was trying to get to this point so that it could connect. Sometimes I might take a while to get to where I need to get to, but I don't want to miss nobody in the process of who I can possibly help to get to that standpoint. But another proverb, Proverbs 31:30. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Um, Another one is, and I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, you can. If not, I'll keep going. Um, but God is first. Putting God first is very important, and God created you, and I don't feel that God created you to be uh waste. You're important. You have value. You have a big contribution to furthering this race in this world. So we need direction and guidance too. And God is where I seek my direction and my guidance. I don't know if I put that together right, but you know, anything you want to add to that before I go on to the next one?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, lean not to your own understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, let's be real. At the end of the day, a lot of people, in my opinion, actually believe with their thoughts and feelings. At the end of the day, actually that they should live by that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true because your feelings and your thoughts change, and the reason you shouldn't trust your feelings is that one, you're in the flesh, and there's nothing good in the flesh. And that's the thing. A lot of people put too much confidence in how they feel and what they think about something and some worldly knowledge that they gain maybe through some university or some self-help program or something. But it's not godly knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, they're awfully misled and they end up sometimes even misleading others, thinking that what they think about something is true and it's not. It's just how you feel at the time. Because if you live to be 50, you know that what you thought about life when you were 20 is totally different than what
Totally
you think
different.
now.
Yeah. And it's a new experience. When you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
Um, I was gonna say something else to that, but it slipped. All right, so another red flag. Okay, now we're going into the red flags for what men have to say. Um, so we have here biblical warning signs for men often centers around a failure to provide emotional and spiritual safety, a lack of self-control, and a harsh, unloving disposition. Harshness and lack of empathy. A massive red flag in a man is a inability to treat a partner with gentleness, honor, and care. Scripture strictly forbids harshness or treating a partner as inferior. And the verse that it picked out was Colossians 3:19. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. So harshness and lack of empathy, red flag from a biblical standpoint. Before I go any further, let me just combine the woman. The woman's red flag from a biblical perspective is continuous and contrast arguing. No, continuousness and constant arguing, disgregationalist beauty, superficiality, and deceitful and manipulation. That was the women's. Now going back to what I said, the man, harshness and lack of empathy. Do you have anything you want to add to that? Was that on your list?
Um, I didn't get the spiritual bullet points,
Oh, okay.
but I know what you're talking about when you
Mhm.
talk about basically you shouldn't deal. Like I think about this one scripture in the Old Testament. Anybody that deals with their wife harshly, their garments will suffer violence, and that's just something that I always held on to because it's actually true.
Mhm. Okay. Another one is an inability to control his anger. A quick-tempered man is viewed as dangerous and destructive to a relationship as his anger will inevitably spill over into the home. The verse that came from, or they added for that one, was Proverbs 22:24 through 25. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. What are your comments on that one? Because I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, the spiritual ramifications of being with somebody that is not guiding you or encouraging your walk with God is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you should ask them. You know, it shouldn't be about just being attracted to you. It should be about whether the relationship draws you closer to God. If it's a relationship that gradually pulls you away from God, then it's not a healthy relationship.
It's a red flag, especially if you believe in God and know if you have a relationship with God. Um, but on that one too, it reminded me of the as a red flag, and if you was to combine it to what we talked about earlier, anger management issues. Um, it's a big red flag. If somebody is just dating you and you see that they're not easily to calm down just by you saying, listen, you know, and they talk to you and explain the situation, and then they relive the anger again as they're talking to you if something bad happened. Um, it's a red flag. I've come in contact with people where I've known them for years, and then when they get real upset, they'll call me. Okay, so if I can't calm you down when you call me, but you want to react that argument back to me, then don't call me. I can't help you. Um, and I tell people that you're responsible for your emotions and your feelings. You strengthen your knowledge and what you feel through your years of living. That's why I tell people don't ignore your emotions, don't ignore your feelings. You need to express what you feel in a safe manner where it's going to protect you and you're not harming nobody else or yourself. But you have to deal with these emotions. Don't hide it. Don't run from it. Don't put it under something. Don't take substances to get you away from what's happening. Acknowledge it. Um, so if once you do that and you continue on to do that as you get older, I can't even get up there to block those out because I'm going to finish my thought process. But as you live through life and experiences, you're building strength and understanding and knowledge with yourself, and then you spend that one-on-one time with you and God. God is helping you cope with that. You're seeing avenues. You're seeing things happen before it happens. You're feeling situations, and this is, and I'm talking about feeling in a standpoint of your intuition and understanding and knowing of what God is producing and showing you from the inside. So don't run away from your feelings and your emotions. You are in control of your emotions. A lot of people say, "Well, I ain't got no control. I didn't. It took over me." No, you have control. If you need to go back to basics and see what it feels like to go through each emotions, write down a journal and express what you feel when you're going through stuff to just remind you of you've had years of experience to calm yourself down, to learn how what ticks you off, to learn your limits. Don't let it get to that point to where it will take you out of control. Use your life lessons of your life experiences as what it's intended for, to teach you and show yourself the growth that you've gone to. It's important to take those moments to reflect back and see how far you've come, because we don't have the same attitude or same likes of things that we had when we was in childhood. I often use the Twinkie situation. When I was a kid, I loved Twinkies. So they start making those red zingers. I love those too when I was younger. Now when I eat them, they don't taste the same. I can care less for them right now. I don't want them. They don't taste good like they used to. So you won't know that until you go back and examine what you've learned, and to incorporate some of that knowledge in now, so that you know how far you've grown and what you like and what you don't like. In other words, you need to get to know yourself, your senses again and again. It's not like, okay, I know this and this is how I took it 10 years ago or 15 years ago. It's not it might be different now. So it's important to take those one-on-one times and do those check-ins. I guess that's a better word to say. Self check-ins with yourself and with God. And to also turn back to see how far you come, just to see your progress and continue to move forward. Did I take that way off of the topic? I felt like I did, but it's okay. I believe it was something that had to be said out there. Um, anything you want to add to that? I think you did already before I went back in and said something else. Do not
Got it.
recognize. Okay, the next one I have is laziness and lack of responsibility. A man who refuses to work, plans for the future, or take responsibility for his actions is flagged. Wait, did I read that? A man who refuses to work, plan for the future, or take responsibility for his actions is flagged as a spiritually and practically unready for a relationship. Anyone who does not provide for their relatives and especially for their own household has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. That's taken from 1 Timothy 5:8. Um, this right here might be a touchy one. Do you consider it a red flag for a woman or a man not to work um before consuming a relationship with them? And you don't have to give your personal thing. I'm just as a general. People out there that's listening.
It depends on the circumstances. I mean, if it's I would say maybe, in my belief, since I was brought up in a two-parent home, I believe that ultimately, if there's young children involved, and I'm the oldest of seven,
Oh,
that the father should work, and the mother should be home raising the children, so that the streets ain't raising them. The teachers, or or a predator. That's right. You know what I mean? So I think the minute that that balance at home is thrown off, that's when things get complicated, and that's when you start having issues. And I think and the way you see a lot of people act now, they're a result of not being raised properly, in my opinion.
mm-hmm.
So I don't see nothing wrong with, if there's an agreement and the one income is able to suffice um, and take care of
Mm-hmm.
that family, then I don't see an issue with that, as long as there's an agreement. How can a man expect a woman to bear children and work a full-time job? That makes no sense. Because she's carrying the child, she's going through all these different emotional changes. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
know that I've seen situations, I guess, where women be pregnant and they're at work. But, I guess that's something that they have worked out. But I'm also speaking to a different time because I was born in the '70s. So with
Mm-hmm.
that being said, things were a lot more. You could live better back then for
Yeah.
less.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, in my opinion, the reason why it is like that, yeah, I mean, I don't want to carry this off, but I seen the
For sure.
shift,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know what it was until I started seeing the results of it. And I'm gonna say the feminist movement was one. I think that was really a psyop to get women out here working so that the banks could charge more for everything. And then if you have women working, now you got You got more mortgages, you got more rents being paid versus back when we were back in the early 1940s and 50s when we were doing our own thing. You know, there was one household and everybody worked together. Usually the wife would take care of the children and the father worked, but that wasn't good enough for the system, so they wanted more.
Hmm.
So they started, you know, they would send women out to tell them that they're being oh, you're being abused because your husband wants you to raise your children. Or he's trying to control you because he wants you home and he wants dinner when he gets home from work. I mean, like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with wanting dinner after working a hard day at work? Who, any human being should want that. But,
Yeah.
you know, the
What I
brainwashing did
yeah.
its job.
Yeah, and greed is what stuck out in all of that too. People weren't happy with not just people, certain type of people, and I'm gonna keep it on that terminology. Um, as far as how things were going, so they had to break it up. And greed, everybody wanted more, 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 more. So let's find ways to get more, more, more. Me personally, I would rather have had my husband work and I stay home and take care of the kids because some parents, some women, and men too. I'm not discriminating from men because I know there's some men out there that are taking care of their household and they're head of the household, and the woman is not there, or they chose to money over their family, whatever the case might be. But as far as me, I grew up in a single household. My father was around, but he chose to raise somebody else's family and not his own. So I raised up. I was raised in a family where my mom, all the women were strong. The women were the strongest ones in that bloodline. And so I just naturally grew up strong too. But and this goes back to me saying how what the way that we're brought up and so forth is not the same as other people. You were brought up in a two-family home. Me being that I was brought up with a one family home, my goal in my generation was to try to keep a two-family home. And another thing I try to push to and keep two people in, and then it was out of my control because one of them was removed. So everything that I see that I don't want, I end up running into. And I'm wondering if those were just insights for me to know what's to come, but not to go too much into it because if I knew what it encountered, I wouldn't have gone through it. Hence, you have a lot of those that have a calling, but they may get a glimpse of what things might be and they don't want it, so they run from it. But we need to stop running from what is in our direction to go into to complete our destiny at the end because of fear. Fear is something that we give power to, and we don't need to. Again, this is probably going off the subject, but still, I think it's something that needs to be heard. You know, but me personally, the structure that I didn't get a chance to um live versus what I did get to live, I would go with the structure of the man going out and working and the woman staying home. You're both working. It's not like you're taking anything away from the other. Your work, the man is doing a different type of work to bring income in, and the woman is doing another kind of work. And I believe the home should be your sanctuary. The home should be your peace place. The home should be a place where you want to come to and lay your head. It should be a place where you're going to want to be with your wife and you're going to want to be with your children because now you have someone there that is, and I'm hoping is moving out of love to where that love will reflect that family and that keeps that bond together. You got two people with the common goal of providing for that family. And now you have someone that's going out working rough and the other one that's working inside that's not so rough, but y'all still can come together to bring the peace for everybody. If the house is being run by, and it can be a man, it doesn't have to be a woman, but I'm saying in my theory, in my mind's eyes, how I see it, and knowing how I did it as uh in the world without it, I think it makes sense to keep that foundation in root. Because one thing I did learn out of my situation was how to keep a peaceful home, how to make a home and keeping the home to be that place to where it's where my husband will want to come back to me every day. And I can't help but to believe that I did contribute and accomplish that because my husband stayed with me until he had to go. He had a choice to leave and go stay someplace else. If I didn't make the home a home, then most likely he wouldn't have stayed, whether he loved me or didn't love me or had other people out there. There was something, and I'm not saying that's what he did, but for me to know that I've done that, let me know that I am a good wife. I know how to keep a home, and I keep my home peaceful. And so I kind of went off of that, but that was one of the red flags of laziness and lack of responsibility. A marriage, a relationship should not show laziness. It's going to take work from both parties. If you're dating somebody and you're getting hints or red flags of how they can't come and work together with you and the two main people, um, then that's continuing conversation that you need to have with God and yourself and with one another. And so forth. So the next one I have is did you have anything else on that, or did you cool with that? We're going to the next one. All right. Red flags for both universal warning signs together. Okay, so that we're done with the man part. Now we're going into the part that's going to combine both men and women of what the Bible is saying. When elevating a relationship as a whole, the Bible outlines several dynamic red flags as signified to a toxic or spiritual draining partnership. Um, Before I get into that, if your partner or the person that you're trying to come encounter with drains you off of just basic conversation, that is a huge red flag. If you are talking to somebody and every time you talk to somebody, you're active and energized before you talk to them, and then when you talk to them, you feel tired, you feel like you don't want to do nothing, that is a red flag. Your energy is being drained. So you need to recognize that at you if you have to test it. They say test the spirit. If you have to test it and talk to somebody for 2 or 3 times, and it's the exact same thing that's happening, you now got confirmation. You need to act upon that. You need to do whatever you do to regain your energy and your peace back. And then you're going to have to start weeding yourself back because either you or somebody got something on and it's draining that energy away from that individual. Um, that's more on the spiritual level, but still something that you should look for and acknowledge if it happens, nevertheless. Um, but this one here was going to did I shoot it back? Hold on, I lost my okay, unequally. All right, so I don't know. Did I read this? Y'all can tell me. Wait, oh, okay, here we go. Sorry. Did you want to add anything before I go into what's next on my list?
Yeah, healthy conversation should leave you feeling exhausted.
Yeah. Or even give you a burst of anxiety. Like, I mean, I don't know if you ever done this. I've done this. I spoke to people, and all of a sudden I'm like, what the heck? I just got this burst of you can feel other people's energy. Or some can. I don't know if it's just me, but if they take you out of your normal space of being, test the spirit and then acknowledge it. Don't ignore it. It's a red flag. But go ahead. I think I cut you off. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you good. You should set limits on that conversation
Okay.
that become unhealthy. Recognize if a discussion is no longer productive. That's something that I have to, how you like you listen to somebody talk, you like try to change the subject, or you might say, "Oh, you know what? I gotta get out of here."
Uh huh. Mm-hmm.
Communicate your boundaries calmly,
Yeah.
clearly. Like, I don't want to talk about that. I'm not comfortable speaking on that subject.
Mm-hmm. And be honest too. Yeah. Just say, look, that's and I'm quick to say I don't quite understand what you're saying. Let's agree to disagree on this one, and then we'll come back to it or something. But
You know,
but yeah, I've talked.
take a break.
Yeah.
Take a break if emotions get too high.
Yeah.
If the conversation going off the rails, be like, I'm good. Yeah, did you see this shit? Show
Change
later,
the
please.
subject.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Exactly. All right. If two people do not share the same core values, faith, or moral compass, they will constantly pull the relationship in opposite directions. And you touched on this earlier. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can leave Sorry. Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? And that's coming from 2 Corinthians 6:14. I'm gonna read it one more time because I chopped it up. So here it goes. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? That's pretty much self-explanatory. I mean, um, you can't have somebody change your core beliefs. I had somebody who had shared with me, earlier on the live that don't lose focus of what your purpose of the conversation is. Don't take your sight off of God. And even though I may not come in a traditional form to where I'm coming at you with God head on, you see my face, you feel my presence. God should already be in the midst. So I don't have to necessarily say that to get your attention. Um, but when I do speak, I might come across and speak, and somebody told me I speak in parables. But and some people say I might take a long time to get to the point. I'm gonna get to the point, but be in this particular platform that is here now is me getting to the point so that I can reach people and help people. I don't just want to come and talk and that's it. My purpose is with an intentions of helping others. So some people would stay on, and I appreciate all that did stay on. And if you didn't, I appreciate the attempt of you even coming to check me out. Um, but if you're going to judge me on anything that I say, be there for the whole thing. So you can get everything I'm saying before you sit there and cast stones. Who that live in glass houses should not cast stone. I didn't quote it right, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. I always come on and say that I don't judge. I don't change nobody's opinion. If you feel that you judge, that's you. Um, some you might, like you said earlier, you sometimes you don't need to just trust your feelings. Okay, I'm agree to disagree on that one because with me, my whole learning and my closeness to God was not someone telling me and telling me and showing me how to get through it. It was me going through it through all my emotions and my feelings. Um, I didn't have anybody there to help me navigate through certain things. So that led me to come on and flow in the direction in which I'm flowing so that I can help people navigate through what they might be feeling. What somebody else is feeling may not be what you're feeling. How I bring something across may not be the way that you bring something across. That doesn't make me wrong. That doesn't make you wrong. That just makes us have a different approach on getting to it. Some of us have a compassion and we come across, like with me, if I get real excited about something, I have to put my disclaimers in. I'm not mad. I'm just very compassionate and excited about what I want to share. So I might sound like I'm yelling at you, but if I'm smiling while I'm saying it, most likely it's cool. I'm not yelling at you. But if you see me and I got to add my tone has gotten deeper, my eyebrows have gone in and there's no smiling in the situation. I got that stare. Okay, then use your discernment, your intuition, and your sight to see that okay, she might be serious. And I'm not saying that you need to care how I look or whatever the case might be. I'm just simply saying that there is a time for everything. And the way somebody else see things is not wrong. That's just how they see it. The way that I see things don't mean it's wrong. It's just the way I see it. So I don't know why I put all that in there, but I did. I hope that was helpful to somebody out there. But what is your I think you touched it already, but you have anything to say about the being unequally yoked core incompatibility?
Well, yeah, I mean, it may be, you might have chemistry or attraction to someone, but if your foundations are not aligned, then it's not gonna last
Yeah.
because you're all, you're moving in two different directions.
Yeah. And if you're just real literal, if you like the dark, the light is going to agitate you. And if you like the light, the dark is going to agitate you. So don't let nobody change who you are. And that goes back to you need to love yourself, know yourself, appreciate everything about yourself so that you're not so easily turned in a direction of somebody else. Um, I might come out looking like I'm naive, and some things I might not understand or know, but I'm going to get the lesson. I don't want to be like back with Moses walking going to a place that should only took 40 days, took 40 years. I done been there on that one too. I ain't trying to go back. I want the lesson. You tell me, okay, I got you. Because something that you say is going to reflect back to something I went through, and it took me a long time to get. No, I got it now. So I don't need to have so much of those life experiences to know that what you're saying is right or is wrong. I know from what my intuition and my discernment. So I'm at that point now where it does not have to take me 40 years to get it. I'm gonna try to get it the first time. If I don't get it the second time, by the third time, by G. Lee Whitaker's, I got it. But yeah. So like I said, I shared my grandmother said to me, with my husband, and at our wedding, is to be um equally yoked. And if you're not equally yoked, you can't be going in the same direction. You're going to be going against the grain. It's going to be a struggle to get to where you need to go to. So all of this can also be taking place with better understanding, and you can heal through this with each other through communication and conversation. Setting firm boundaries that you can accommodate and accomplish, and vice versa. And don't set boundaries too high for one another to where you can't, you know, be fair about it. Whatever boundaries you set for yourself and you set for others, make sure it's something that you can accomplish and be okay with as well. Don't make it stronger and higher for somebody else because you want things to work in your favor. Be equally yoked and fair about what you do and the boundaries that you set with one another. Okay, the next one I have is selfishness and pride. And this scripture is coming from James 3:16, when it's talking about when one or both partners operate out of absolute self-interest, humility dies and the relationship becomes a arena for conflict. So the scripture verse is, where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice. So selfishness and pride, isn't that the fall of destruction? Before things happen, warning comes before destruction. Um, and I don't want y'all to confuse when I say loving yourself and knowing yourself as a form of selfishness. It's not selfish when you're taking care of you. That's your responsibility. That's your core. You can't help nobody else until you take care and help yourself. So when I say yourself in that aspect is really logically, as you speak, you got to take care of you before you can take care of somebody else. You can't be sick and take care of somebody, because then who's taking care of you? You're spreading on your germs and everything to everybody else. You got to make sure that you're taken care of before you can go in and help somebody else. And um, pride is like a two-edged sword. It's two sides to it. Pride, as far pride into okay, you can look at pride as in you're not going to take handouts or whatever the case might be because you feel you're too big for that. Or pride can be looked at as you have pride and taking care of your family at any means necessary. At any means necessary. If you have to go out there and take care of your family, you're not going to lose that respect, that pride you have to keep that family together to do what you have to do. But you can add into that. I heard you breathing.
Sorry. I ain't realize you heard me. I was muted.
No, that's okay. Did I hit something? Say, go ahead and say what you got to say.
I mean, I'm listening. You, I mean, when me becomes bigger than we, there's a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So 316.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. James 3:16. All right. So the last one I have up here, codependency or putting the partner above God. That's idolatry. Loving a partner more than God or expecting a human being to violate your entire worth is a recipe for heartbreak. Humans make poor gods, and I agree 100%. Humans cannot be God. God is a God that sees everything, knows all before it happens. There's no mistakes when God, the creator, is in play, in the center. You need to keep your eyes on the high caller, the high prize, and which is God. When I always say my direction is forward and up. And when I say what I mean by that is I'm always going to go forward and up. I'm gonna look to the hills which come of my help. I'm gonna look up to God. I'm gonna keep my focus up high. I'm not gonna let these circumstances of life take over who I am, and I'm not gonna let another person pull me away from God. God has always been there for me, never failed me. I have no reason to turn against God to say that God is not, uh, God has not provided for me the way that God has. Man has disappointed me on many occasions. God has not. Um, and it's important to let, if you're getting involved with somebody and you're both on a level to where you connect and spend time with God, don't interfere with each person's time with that. Don't let your jealousy or whatever you want to call it get in the middle of getting mad at the other person because they're spending time with God. Communicate with that other person. Let them know, listen, this is my time to spend with God, or I need to take a moment. Just communicate that with each other so that there's no reason or room for somebody else to think differently. Um, And then, someone had shared with me that you got to have your own relationship with God, and you do. I'm not disagreeing with that. But if you are married in a household, you should have time to pray individually so that you can get direction for God. And then there's time together where y'all come together and pray with God so that y'all can be on one accord. Y'all can get whatever additional knowledge that you gain for self and how you need to better yourself and bring it to the marriage. You bring it together as God being in the center there too, and y'all work it out as a whole. Communication is so important. I can't stress enough how important communication is. And it's not, you're not being too because I have somebody say, you ask a lot of questions, you nosy. I'm not asking questions necessarily to be nosy. I ask questions for me to get a better understanding. And some people might think that I'm trying to pry, and I'm not. And I'm sharing this because there's other people that might feel the same way. But if you're in a relationship with one another, tell each other that what you're doing, because y'all on the same page, y'all on the same team. So if you're gonna go ahead and get yourself stronger, and you need that one-on-one time to get your ammo, your knowledge and understanding and wisdom from God, do it, because it's gonna make us better. And I'm gonna go do it because it's gonna make us better. And then make sure we do it together so that we can flow. And what's that three-edge cord? You can't pull it apart. That three-strand cord, it's stronger. You can't pull it apart. Uh, the verse is, "Dear children, dear children, keep your selfless." No, dear children, keep yourselves from idols. 1 John 5:21. Anything you want to share on that before I close up the last of the good stuff that I have?
Yeah, because codependency can actually cause you to ignore uh, red flags for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
When your identity becomes a relationship.
Yeah, and I've done it. I've lost my identity. When my husband passed, I wasn't like those women that didn't know what to do next. I've always was strong-minded on taking care of my family. I've done that throughout my marriage and way before my marriage. But what I had to get used to was doing it by myself. And that right there, it scared the living daylights out of me because I didn't want to mess up my kids. And I don't think I did because I stayed firm all the way from the beginning to end. I didn't change. The only thing that changed was the fact that I was trying to find a way now to uh, fill a gap that it wasn't my gap to fill. They have their own different ways of grieving the loss of their fathers too. Their father, not father. There's one man, all children by one man. So um, they had to understand and deal with their grief. I could not put how I felt they felt and try to fix it because I wasn't I wasn't true. It was they would have to tell me what they were feeling, and then we get together, we talk, and then we'll move from that direction. Um that right there, that time frame for me was I was feeling a whole bunch, I was feeling everybody. And I had to learn how to separate. And this is why I'm so big on not letting people put their insecurities on me. I had to literally study and separate and move things and realize what was mine and what's not mine. And I had to do that by myself. So I'm here to try to explain and help you out there that are dealing with things like that, that you're not alone in this matter. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You will get through it. You just have to spend that one-on-one time with God and yourself, get that inner understanding, get used to God's voice, read some scriptures, read some Bible verses, Recognize the red flags in the beginning of everything that you do and listen to what's being said. Don't push one in and out the other and say, oh, that's nothing. Listen to everything. Even if you have to have a journal, I don't say go ahead on a date and just write down stuff. No, not do that. But if you get in your quiet time and you want to assess, examine whatever's going on, then you use your journal, you write down, and you get a better understanding for you. In the long run, it has to make sense to you, but never put nobody or anything above God. You and God, I consider to be a group as one. I don't separate the two. So whenever I say one-on-one time, I got to keep reiterating that God is always with me. God is always with you. Whatever spirit team God has for you is always with you. You're never really alone. You might be alone physically, and you might need, because we have all different types of learners. You might need someone to talk it to you or explain it to you, or you might need an example, or you might need to learn through experience. There's many ways of learning to get to better understanding and maneuvering through this life. So this whole conversation again was about acknowledging red flags. What are some of the red flags that men and women uh, come across in going into a relationship? Or what are some red flags that can prevent you from continuing on a relationship? Either way, the choice is ultimately yours. But if you know what you're looking for, if you're paying attention to what's being said, if you are listening to your intuition and your discernment, you're going to get an understanding of what it is that you need. The Bible baseline, if you want a quick checklist to measure relationships, look at 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. The love chapter. If the relationship constantly looks like the opposite of patience, kindness, humility, and trust, you are looking at a field of red flags. So I hope this conversation was beneficial. It did last longer than the hour, but I don't know exactly how much longer than an hour. But if by chance you felt like this conversation flowed well, please share it in the comments. Um, how do you think this conversation went today, sir?
Very informative.
Yeah, it was informative.
Yeah, because you had you brought the spiritual um, backing that dealt with these relationship issues and red flags.
Hmm. My goal was to connect the two, that we still have to get our guidance from the word, from the Bible. That is still a living word. um I know, and I have to say this because I came across in some of my videos, because I was learning in real time that the Bible is a living word created by different people to make it fit their religion or aspect and so forth. Because and I say this because we got so many different types of Bibles. We got so many type of Bibles that's out there. So the ultimate, because it's a living word, whatever you read from the Bible, it's going to connect to you personally, to you. So I wanted to pick out some scriptures that can relate to coming across it in the, what someone might say, worldly view versus the biblical view. Is all the same. We're in the same space. The information still comes from um a source that is beneficial for us to move forward. These are tips, these are guidelines, these are avenues, these are streets, these are different routes to get to the same destination. And that same destination is to keep God first, to never lose sight of God in anything that you do, especially when it comes to relationships. You're going to need that godly love to make that relationship flow forward. If you sit here and tell me that it's not, that I'm not telling the truth, I'm a living testimony witness to tell you that it is true. It works for me. You don't have to take my word for it. But if you gone through a situation or relationship and didn't put God in the center of it, and you did take a chance and try another relationship and put God in the center of it, you tell me which one flowed better. 9 out of 10 times, the one that you put God in the center of was better than the one that wasn't. Because when you put God in the middle of it, you're both on one accord. You're both pulling in the same direction to go forward and up. There's no pulling and tugging to see who's going to get there first, or pulling you away from where you got to go to, or even pulling you from the side to take you out of your lane. Keep God first in everything that you do. Somebody told me, what is the first, um, and I keep quoting it wrong, but it's wisdom. Wisdom, Lady Wisdom, or wisdom, is the first key to understanding the true love of God. How do we I don't remember the whole quote, but for lack of knowledge, lack of understanding can lead into a lot of problems and issues. Communication, conversation is important. Knowledge and wisdom is important. Everything does not necessarily come from a book. You can read some stories, you can read some other people's lives, but you can also witness it through your upbringing and seeing relationships as a child and you see your parents, or as an adult being in relationships, you can experience it and see other people. One thing that I do want to make sure that my live does when I come on here is to help, to be informative, and to encourage. I don't want to be like everybody else coming on here and then we're combating, fighting back and forth. I believe in having solutions. If you have an issue or a problem or a question or something like that, I believe that you need to have a solution. It may not be the worldwide web of top solutions, but give something back so that people can have some type of hope to say, okay, well, you know what? I'm not going through this blindly. I have something now I can look forward to navigate me to a place to where I can get a better understanding. And I don't have to be into something that I can acknowledge with the first couple of months and then, skip all that. And then 5 years later, I'm in something that I regret or wish that I never got into. But everything is a lesson regardless. So, anything else you want to add to tie all this up in? Did your list get covered? Did we miss anything off of your list of what you had pulled in, whether it was biblical or non-biblical?
Yeah, my list had a lot of that. I mean, it had every. I had a lot of bullet points and what to do to once you discover them and how to get out of it. Me personally, I'm looking at it as an opportunity to make more content around these talking points because they're very important.
They are.
And instead of, because what I'm seeing, I keep seeing the arguments of why relationships are failing and why men and women are not getting along with no
Mm-hmm.
solutions. To me personally, these are the solutions. If you do these things, then a lot of times you wouldn't have all the issues, and a lot of these arguments will be moot. It wouldn't. It would be no point with everybody bickering and insulting each other because it gets pretty bad. You know what I mean? The way they go at each other, and there's a great divide between men and women, and in my opinion, it's by design.
Yeah.
Because if we're all fighting each other, then we're not building together. And then what happens? Our community gets weaker.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been whoever's doing this has been very
Strategic.
efficient in executing their plan because it's working out very well. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
shame that it is.
Yeah. It's amazing how they flip what's good to be bad and what's bad to be good. When I go back to basics and what I was learning from my early ages, whether it's well, most likely spiritually. I mean, not spiritually. I didn't learn spiritually till after, but religious wise, um, you've seen everything through like uh, rainbow colored glasses. You always saw the good and never seen what was right in front of you. You always see they'll tell you a story about something that took place, and then there's some fantasy type of belief they get you to believe in, and then boom, that's the final say, what we say. So somewhere along the line, from the beginning to the end, in that middle, they put a whole bunch of illusions and cast all these different things in to pull people and divide them from where they needed to be. Somewhere between the beginning and the end, the focus was taken off of God. The focus was taken off of the plan, the purpose. And we need to recognize and understand and know without a shadow of a doubt that there is only one ultimate creator that has created this world. And I want to go back to the word. In the beginning was the word. How that phrase go? Why my mind be going blank when I know what I'm trying to say? In the beginning was the word, and then
The word
ultimately,
with the guide.
yeah. And what's the
Yeah,
yeah? So
there's more to it, but
yeah.
yeah, keep going.
So wisdom.
I don't remember it word for word either, but I know exactly what you're
Yeah, and I can say it if I'm not put on the spot. So this is letting me know that I have to write stuff down even more. Now I'm learning how to save some time, and I'm making copies instead of printing stuff out. I mean, writing stuff out. I would usually write all of this stuff down on the paper because I love writing. But I've been making some jewelry, so I need to give my hand a break. But yeah. All in all, I think and believe that this conversation was beneficial. I give honor and glory to God. If this conversation has helped you, I don't take credit for it. I give honor and glory to God if it's helped you. If you want to share in your lives, in this live, that, if it was beneficial to you, if it helped you, please feel free to share that. If you want to be brave enough to share your situation, I believe some people were sharing it in the live, but it's hard to read it and talk my thoughts at the same time. So sometimes I'll get on reading it. Sometimes I'll skip it because I notice when I go back and read my lives, I'll start off with something and I'm looking like a deer in headlights, and then I go and answer something on live and then come back. And I know that that bothers a lot of people. And sometimes I could be in the middle of talking and I'm hearing something. It's like I can hear somebody arguing with me. And I don't have crazy voices in my head now, y'all. I do believe that that is me getting information to share to you all out there. Um, but sometimes, I can't tell you how a live is going to be and how I look when it comes out. My daughter be like, "Mom, why you be making those videos and you just be staring?" And I'm talking about the pictures. You know, when you go back on TikTok and you hit those pictures and the music comes up and it tells you something about yourself. And she was like, "Well, you're supposed to be doing something in those videos," but I just sit there and I be staring because I'm listening too at the same time of what is coming through. But anyway, that was a totally off the mark conversation. But is there anything else you want to add to this before we close out? I've been on longer than an hour. I think today is probably the longest I've been on. My goal is to do this.
It's been about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. That's a plus for me. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I see people do this for like 8 hours a day, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, they be going hard. It's like a full-time job for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, it's idea too. It's really idea. Um, but yeah, I don't know if you have any. I don't want to hold you up from any plans that you may have for today. Um, but I do appreciate you coming on live. I do appreciate this discussion. I think that it was cool. I mean, I think it went and it flowed like water, and it was calm. It was respectful, and it was easy to understand. Where the points were, and I believe it was beneficial and it was helpful. And I believe a lot of points was covered in this.
Yeah, I think I mean, I've got some ideas. I think I want to make some videos covering a lot of this information because it is. It seems that I get a better lately. I noticed I've been, I post first. I was just posting about news and crime and whatnot. Then I was like, let me, I have a reaction page. I said, let me react to some of this relationship stuff. I mean, because it seems to be what a lot of people were talking about.
Hmm.
So I said, let me give it a try. And I mean, right away, I'm noticing the difference. I went from getting hundreds of views to now I'm getting just thousands of views and a lot of new subscribers
Hmm.
on my YouTube channel. I'm like, oh wow, well let me keep it going then.
Hmm. And see, this is where I keep the scriptural part of my stuff in my lives too, because people can quickly come on your lives and want you to talk about other things. And this is what I did because I opened up myself and asked people out there, what is it that you think we should talk about? What do you want to talk about? And I got people that shoot me emails or text messages to have possible discussions. And I'm not having a discussion necessarily with the person. It's just they shoot me ideas. And then what I come across is when they go back and watch the video, because I'll send it to them, they'll say, "Oh, well, that's not where I was coming from." Okay. Then they'll try to coach me on how to go about doing the video. And I'm like, well, I do appreciate the idea, but when I come on my lives, I flow. I want God to take over and flow and use me. Now, I don't know if that's the same for everybody else, but that's how I want to, come across. I don't want to, because I don't have, I'm used to as a teacher and going to school that you have to have factual based stuff to prove what you're saying. But a lot of my stuff is through experience and knowledge, and I use the Bible because it's a common ground to where people can relate to, and it has a lot of rules and laws and regulations and things that we need to live by. And I don't want to take my focus off of God. So I try to connect the two. But I got a lot of people that try to tell me how to come across and do it. And I'm not trying to take away from nobody else's idea, but I can be me and you could be you, and I don't know what else to tell you. So saying all that to say, I changed my topics and pulled away from different things because I was trying to appease the viewers. But I don't want nobody to mistake the fact that I'm not still based on being a woman of God, being a spiritual being, being created in the image of God, and doing what thus saith the Lord. Even though my topics might change from point A to point B. But relationship topics, if I was to compare all the way through, does come across as a topic that everybody is interested in because everybody wants love. We're in a world now where love is not so truly out there. It's love is taken lightly. And it's more of a control thing and it's not what it a true base type of thing. But but yeah. Again, I thank you so much for your contribution on this live. I'm gonna go ahead and end this live. Hopefully we can do some more things in the future. Um, and my thing is God loves you, you love you, now you love God loves you, I love you, now you love you. And move forward and up. That's the direction. And stay in your lane. Don't let nobody take you out of character today. Put God first. You spend that one-on-one time with God and listen to God's conversation and learn God's voice and love you. Anything you want to add to that before we end?
Yeah, I hope everybody has a blessed rest of their day. And appreciate everybody that came by and contributed, whether it be comments, gifts, or follows.
Oh, yes. Thank you all for the gifts too.
Please take all this information and apply it to your life. Trust me, it'll make it better. As long as you make the right decisions. We can't be accountable for what everybody else does, but we can be definitely held accountable for the decisions we make.
That's for
So
sure.
there's no excuse for, you know, continue to do the right thing when the information is available to everybody. And once again, I'm gonna say this: if we get out of our feelings, and when I say feelings, I'm talking about our emotionals. I'm not talking about our discernment and knowledge far as it comes to what God has to do for us, because they're two different things. Um, we'll be better off because you may feel one thing, but doesn't make it the best thing to do at the time. And when I say feelings, reason why I keep putting the emphasis on feelings because as long as we're in this flesh, we're gonna have feelings. You know what I mean?
As long as we're in this
And
world.
yeah, a lot of times those feelings can lead us astray.
You're
So
right.
we should see what God says about it first before we make a decision and move in a certain direction based on whatever situation you got going on. And then they keep you out of trouble
Yeah. Yeah.
because you remember what they say, your heart will deceive you.
Hmm. That's why you keep your focus on God. Ask those questions. What would Jesus do? Or what would God do? How would I be looked at, and so forth. But thank you again. So until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Sunday. And peace. Thank you again.